You get it?
Yes.
Them black folks didn't just go back to Africa. They stayed. And if you go to Cordoba or any part of Spain, you see the influence of the Muslim population. Matter of fact, 30% of all enslaved people that left Africa were Muslims. That's where all our learned people came from. Why? Because they read the Quran. You read the Quran, you already ahead of the game because you could read. I mean, does it make sense?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is try to get you to 1 plus 1 does equal 2. Okay? Leo Africanus. We have 2 of these. This is 1632. We also have a 1600 edition. This brother went to Africa to write about what he saw. Pope Pius X said. And what he saw was this great civilization. When Europe was in the Middle Ages, tribal, Africa was flourishing. You can't take 12 to 15 million of the best people out of a continent and expect it to just keep operating like you didn't take them out. Because all of those people are lost. You know what I mean? And that's why Africa continues to have the issues they have in terms of governance. Because the best and brightest left, on slave ships. Love this story. This is Ignatius Sancho, born on a slave ship, goes on to become an opera singer. If you read his books, subscriptions, before Amazon, you had to have a subscription in the 18th century to own books. Okay? There were no borders in the 18th century. So only the wealthy read, and they subscribed to books. And the king and queen of England, the duke and duchess, and everybody else read this. He has 42 pages of subscription to his book. He's born on a slave ship. No brother or sister, no kid tells me that they can't finish high school when you got a brother like this doing this, coming out of these conditions. So we use this as a teaching tool, okay? I love Equiana. Quick story, 1790, first edition, he had 6 editions. In other words, he was a published guy. These guys were the biggest and brightest. Stolen at 9 years old, son of a king, Muslim, bought by an English sailor in the Caribbean. The captain teaches him how to sail. He becomes a captain and goes and sails 6 continents. Comes back to England. He gets with Ignatius Sancho, Thomas Clarkson, that first book over there, William Wilberforce and William Penn, the British Prime Minister, and they start to eradicate slavery in England. It took 30 years, but they did it in 1808. Okay? This brother. Okay? If you read any account about slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, you're talking about Equiana. Because he was the only one below deck. Okay? This is Peru in 1604. Well, we heard about black people down there, but what you said, we were fine. Okay, during the Inquisition, during Pizarro, there are black people in Peru. You see what this? Negroes, Batistas, mulattoes, that's us. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, in the 15th century, there were more black people in Lima than anybody else. It was called a black city. Okay? That was true also in Mexico. Let's look at this. Here's a Mexican slave trade bill of sale people talking about. So we go out and find the evidence that supports the myth or the fact. And that's when it comes in. Okay? This is Jose Montana being sold for 60 pesos. 60 pesos were worth 2 houses back in the 18th century. In other words, to buy an enslaved person was terribly expensive, but very profitable. This is Mexico in 1848. In other words, it was Texas all the way to Oregon, all the way to the Washington border. We created a war to take that land. And Mayor Victoria Woodard just walked in. Let's give her a big round of applause. She's just flying in from from Las Vegas, and it's so nice of you. You have been she's a sweetheart. She's just a sweetheart. And she called me earlier today and said that she was in Vegas trying to get here, but they had plane trouble. So we appreciate you joining us. So we have another nice little thing coming up. So 30 minutes, okay, all right. So y'all got to come back. In other words, all right. Y'all don't have to come back. All right. So we just showed you Jose Montano being sold for 60 pesos. In 1829, there was a brother that was president of Mexico. Now, when I heard that, I didn't believe it. But we go look. And just 2-3 weeks ago, we buy Vicente Guerrero's inaugural address, April 29, 1829. So now he exists, and now you can get in. Because you don't get in unless we can prove it. Okay, because we want none of you knuckleheads talking about this and that. Okay? Okay? All right. He abolished slavery in Mexico in 1834. You gotta like this guy. Okay? If you ever been on Pico Boulevard, that's named after a brother. Okay? So every time I get on Pico, I do a little nod. The last governor of California when it was owned by Mexico, okay? This is a great slide here. Look at this. The founders of Los Angeles, 1781, 2 Caucasians, 16 Indians, and 26 Negroes. And when I talk to my Latino brothers in LA, I say, yeah, we got dibs here too. Don't tell me because we speak Spanish too. Fully 15 to 20% of all Spanish-speaking people are black. Just go up and down the eastern seaboard. Go to Bogota. Go to Colombia. Go to Mexico. You just go. And it gets darker as you get closer to the Caribbean. Okay? Don't get me started. Chicago was founded by a brother. Matter of fact, the Indians said the first white man I saw was a brother named himself. All right. Revolutionary soldier, Ed Dwight. You see the Maasai woman in the first gallery, good friend. First astronaut trainee in 1960. They said, I don't want to do this, I want to sculpt. And it's become a great sculptor. But what we love about this is we like bringing in aesthetics to tell another story. The Revolutionary soldier, there were 5,000 black folks that fought for George Washington. And what's extraordinary, if you fought with the British the first day you became free, but we still fought with George Washington. Because we've always believed in the ideals of America. Now, America has not believed in us like we believed in them. But we continue to believe in the ideals of a more perfect union. And that's what each and every one of us in this room have to do, is to make America more like it says it wants to be. Okay? This is Butler. She's a contemporary artist and a friend. She does appliques. She's huge now, big show at the Chicago Art Institute. But we love this piece because it says everything about, this person. Yes, she may be enslaved, but she is not. She has this strong personality about who she is and where she came from. So we use this as an entrance into slavery. The cotton gin increased cotton production by 100-fold and changed slavery in America and produced 100 million pounds a year of cotton. We went from a backwater nation, and by 1872, we were the #1 country in the world because of cotton. 40% of all the proceeds of cotton went to New York. So the complicity of New York was total. Okay? Matter of fact, Charles Tiffany sent his son a $500 check. Charles Tiffany owned a cotton plantation in Montgomery. His son opens up Tiffany, the little blue box, on Broadway. Don't you think black folks own some of that? John Brown, the famous John Brown of Rhode Island, Brown University. He brought 100,000 black folks to this country. Why wouldn't every black person that wanted to go to Brown go there free? So I want you to start thinking about this a little different way. We don't want people to give us anything. That's not what this is about. But all of this ill-begotten gains, that's what they are. When do they ever get changed? When do we ever, I mean, what they did in Manhattan Beach in California is just a brilliant thing. What's the name of the race family?
Bruce.
The Bruce family. Bruce family in 1920s owned this land in Manhattan Beach. White people one day decided, well, we're going to take it. And they took it. Eminent domain. Urban renewal. Freeway construction. All that's urban renewal, but it's black folks removal. So, over the last 100 years, this movement has been going, and because it's in California, and because we have the kind of politicians, black and white, Janice Hahn, Holly Mitchell, decided they were going to do something about it. So what they did, they said, we're going to give this land back to the families. That's what's got to happen. It's got to happen all over America. And then while we're doing that, we got to take down these 1,200 monuments to these doggone Confederate people that didn't kill us about it. So let me tell you this. There's a thing called a lost cause. This is white folks talk. The lost cause was, we want to protect our heritage. Okay, I like that. So what do you mean by that? Well, we're going to put these generals up on the horses and put them up high. Well, I asked, well, how about the abolitionists in the South? There are no abolitionists on horses. You follow me? You know, there's only one story that the lost cause is trying to make. It's about slavery. You got to be kidding. Now, this is one of the most important documents you see. When I got a chance to get this, it's the 1801 Census, New York. This is 3/5 of a slave. The aggregate. Now, the South was half of the North in terms of population. So the South said, well, we don't like this, we're going to form our own union. They said, well, don't go yet. Let's cut a deal. So Congress says, we'll let you count your enslaved people to bring your population up. Remember, we had 4 million black folks enslaved in the South, right? So now all of a sudden, the South gets credit for 4 million black folks, and they get more voting power in Congress. They get more Supreme Court justices. They get more presidents. You follow me? And that's true today. Yeah. Now, there are only 2 presidents that were elected that didn't win the popular vote. George Bush and Donald Trump. So let me tell you what I said. In 1787, the Continental Congress passed this law because of slavery to give 3/5 of a person to the South. Those 3/5 of a person made the Electoral College. So guess what? George Bush and Donald Trump were elected because of slavery. I don't think I missed anything in terms of deduction. I think I'm pretty good. Okay? I really worked it out. Only 2. So it's still operating today. I'm going to get to the fugitive slave law. I love this young man. This is a sweet little girl, 1850. Yeah, they insured us because we were property. I didn't believe that until we could prove it, okay? This is new. Thanks, Khalil, for putting this in. We just got this, like, what, last week or 2 weeks ago? A black woman and a black child. What makes this unbelievable is because you never saw it. You see a black woman and a white child, because, you know, we took care of all the white kids. You know, I mean, the only breast milk they got, because white women wouldn't do it. They could, you know, they mess up their figure or something. I don't know what it was, but, you know. So here we have we have this sister. Look at that. She got the beautiful earrings. I mean, this is just a beautiful piece. You ought to see the actual piece. It's just gorgeous. Okay, thanks for that. Fugitive slavery. Now, 1850, 1793. George Washington signed the Fugitive Slave Law of 1793. It basically said that any black person that leaves without permission can be captured by anybody. And then the 1850 slave bill basically says that we deputize all white people that can go and take and bring black people that had escaped. Okay? Now, I really believe that the 18,000 police departments in America are operating on this and don't even know it. Because anytime in Georgia, a guy could be running, Arbery could be running in his own neighborhood, and a white guy, two of them, can say, what are you doing here, and then decide to arrest him. Or the kid in Florida, Trayvon. That's the fugitive slave law. That's what this is. That white people believe that they just can arrest black people because they can arrest them. And generally they got away with it. You know, it was 1968 before a white person was ever convicted of killing a black person in the South. We love this. You know the book? You know the movie? This is the book. Okay? Here's a brother in Saratoga, New York, musician. He goes to D.C., slave state, gets kidnapped. 12 years later, he's still enslaved. You know what? I think Shirley said this one time. He got too comfortable. Because anytime you leave the North and go into D.C. in the 1850s, you really are too comfortable. Okay? And white people got him, took him to New Orleans. And what they had two things. They said you had the northern South and the southern South. So anytime they would take people like Northrop, they would take them to the deep South, New Orleans, Mississippi. They wouldn't keep them in Virginia and North Carolina, that kind of thing, because they may get away. Okay? Dred Scott, you'll go a long time before you'll actually see the Dred Scott decision. 1857, this started the Civil War, because basically, they said essentially that no black person in this country, including the 700,000 free blacks in the North, were free. And we knew it couldn't go. Now, here's the irony. It's the same thing with the Supreme Court today. It's the same foolishness. You know, the guy, Justice Taney, T-A-N-E-Y, from Virginia, he ruled the majority opinion. He's the second largest slaveholder in Virginia. You don't tell me how he's going to rule on something he's directly involved in. You get me? And that happened all the time. Okay? I love this guy, Freddy Douglas. He told Lincoln, if you don't bring black people and give them guns and help you push the South back from the North, you're going to lose the war. And that's the guy that did it. He was the most photographed person in the 19th century. This oration is from 1852 that he did in Rochester, New York. It's a brilliant piece. Basically, he was invited to the white women invited him. They had good intentions, I guess. But Freddy Douglas said, look, I didn't come here to be your nice guy today. You know what I mean? I came here to tell you what you all have to do to help black people get their freedom. Incident of the Slave Girl. I'm going to go through some of these just to get. William Steele, this book is 882 pages. Wow. This guy recorded everybody that was going north on the Underground Railroad. And we have this book. It's a powerful book. With diagrams. And he drew their faces and all. It's just a beautiful book. And talks about what he did. He gave them agency by talking about who they were and where they came from and all that. 880-some pages. Lord Garrison, we had a lot of help from white people, and we still need a lot of help from white people. Okay? Lord Garrison spent 40 years as an abolitionist. He has I love this saying, I would just stand alone with the truth and await the outcome. Everybody say that. Stand alone with the truth and await the outcome. because that's what he believed. He believed that his work was that important that he didn't have to rush it. And there's another saying I want you to do. That meaning comes from duration. Meaning comes from duration. Just sit on that for a while. In other words, everything that we get is not going to come on us right there. It takes time. You know, we have a saying, be careful what you think, because you don't know where it came from. Okay? Because most of the stuff you got in your brain came out of the garbage can. You wouldn't pick up a sandwich and start eating it. Eat some of the stuff that we take into our brain and start doing it. Okay? Okay? All right. All right. Civil War, and I'm gonna have to cut, but that's another reason. Well, let me just say this: November 12th to the 14th, we're coming back. Okay, just so you know. All right. October 3rd. October 3rd, we'll be back. Okay. So we may break this up in parts, but let me just say this: we never do the same show, the same. Okay, so you're gonna like it. All right. All right. Reverend Tyler Brown. He helped do this piece. He left Philadelphia, went to San Francisco, came to Tacoma, and became a painter at Mount Tacoma in there. I love this piece. Come and join us, brothers. The first time the colloquial brothers was used. Okay? Come and join us, brothers. Okay? All right, 180,000 black men fought, died at a 35% clip, more than whites. And the first 16 Medal of Honor winners were black folks. Okay? Don't tell me that we don't love this country. This is the Emancipation Proclamation, September 24th, 1862. This is when Lincoln told the army, get ready, we're sending brothers over there to help. Okay? And here's some of them right here. And we had a few thousand black folks working with the Confederates. We don't know if they were part of wanting to do it or they were conscripted, but they did. And I love this one here. All Confederate money had black folks on it. And you know why? Because the only people worked were black folks. It had no value if black people didn't work. You know, we're the only, for 250 years, black people are the only people who worked in this country. Period. And then white people said, we ain't gonna let you work no more. And we're kind of in that right now. Always trying to figure out how we can keep a job or get a job and so forth and so on. It's just wrong. And don't get me started talking about these 41 states that just voted suppression. Don't get me started on that. And you got a chance to re-elect your mayor. Okay? Shame on you if you don't get out and vote. I said this the other day. You weren't there, but I was going to say it. Okay? Our jobs are to vote for the dog catcher owner. I don't care who is on the ballot, you need to put your voice on it. Okay? Because you have no agency if you don't vote. And it's one of the most important civic responsibilities each and every one of us got. So you've got to do that. And you start, there's a council person that's running in Fife somewhere. I ain't never heard of Fife. There's a sister running over there. Vote for her too. and you know what I'm saying, vote for. Let me tell you what my dad used to tell me. My dad was a civil rights guy, so he used to sit us down when you had white folks over. You know, this is in the 50s, you know, you had to, you know. But my dad was a serious guy. You understand? He said, no, Brad, sit on over here and listen to this. You know, we go to the grocery store, the white fountain, the black fountain, said, Rod, go over there and drink some of that white water. That's the kind of guy you are. I go over and drink some of it. I said, Dad, tastes all right. Well, my dad used to tell the white politicians wanting the black vote, don't come in my community wanting us to vote for you if you're not going to do anything about our sewers, our lights, our roads. You follow me? I don't care none of that other stuff, because what we have to do is to get people that are going to help our communities. Okay? Okay. All right. I'm going to do this and okay. Early Jimmy. Khalil created this. Early early geniuses made this. These people were extraordinary. But because they were black, nobody even cared about them. Okay? So what we did, we put a whole section in the book, section in the exhibition called Early Genius. Beautiful. Okay? And here's an example of something. Okay. This sister, Phyllis Wheaton, she comes to America on a slave ship called Phyllis. She's bought by the Wheaton family, and now she's Phyllis Wheaton. Okay? She speaks no English at 6. By 8, 10, she's speaking Latin and English. By 12, 13, she's playing the piano and the violin. And by 17, she writes the first poem of anybody in the country, September 1st, 1773. And the founding father, John Hancock, you know that signature guy? Okay? He says, you can't get this book published in Boston. So the Wheaton family, to their credit, they take her to England. And this book was published in England, September 1st, 1773. The hypocrisy of the American people sometimes saying that a 17-year-old sister who was as popular as Oprah Winfrey could not publish a book when we're fighting the British for the same thing that black people were fighting for. You get the irony of this? And when you crawl into the Kinsey Collection book, and when you crawl into that exhibition that Khalil's done, you get it. And those cataracts you got, they're going to lift. You'll see differently. Okay? All right. Alexander Lucius Trotter. His brother graduated from college in 1820. Yeah, we went to college early. Some of them were geniuses, so we get in, you know. And he becomes the first African American to hold elected office. So you should know this, brother, because every black politician in America is standing on Brother Trotter, right? You know. First black scientific book, Benjamin Banneker. I've seen 2 of these in 40 years of collecting. They're that rare. Matter of fact, almost everything in the Kinsey Collection, you get one shot at acquiring it. If you miss it then, you won't see it again until the person that had it died. Okay? So what we've been able to do, and this ain't bragging, is just be meticulous for 40 plus years of finding the absolute best representation of the historical record of America. That's what this is, the historical record of America. When we say it happened, we went and got it, okay? And they did a beautiful job in laying it out. Robert Scott Douglas, yeah, we painted in the 1860s. Yeah, we painted. I know you didn't think that was painted, but yeah, they painted. You know what I tell artists today? Don't tell me you can't make a living in 2021. You got brothers making a living back in slavery, okay? So let's be real, okay? The Queen of England, Queen Victoria, owns this brother's painting. The Queen of Norway owns this brother's painting. And the White House has one of his paintings now, Robert Scott Douglas. Great guy. Edmonia Lewis, most black people, they got sick of America with all this foolishness, they would go to Europe. She went to Italy and never came back. Became a great sculptor in Edmonia Lewis. This is Grafton Tyler Brown, Mount Tacoma, now Mount Rainier. Beautiful piece. This is another Grafton Tyler Brown, 1899. You're going to see the eagle here. This is called Eagle's Nest. I love this piece. This is Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. What Grafton Tyler Brown, even when he was a successful lithographer in San Francisco, he always wanted to paint. And that's what he did. And black people had a lot more mobility than you realize in the 19th century. Some of them walked. But they got where they wanted to go because they were tenacious about what they wanted to do with their lives. Charles Ethan Porter, Connecticut brother, 1890. I mean, a brilliant career, one of the first guys in the New York Architectural School. Edward Mitchell Bannister, this is 1893. And we have, I think, 2 more of these. We got 3 of these. Edward Mitchell Bannister won the highest award for art in 1876. I know it's going to be hard. I didn't say 1976. 1876. He entered the contest. They picked his painting. And then when the judges saw he was a brother, They didn't want to give it to him. We understand the drill, you know. So they asked him to paint it over, and they still had a problem. His fellow painters pushed to make sure that this brother got his bronze medal. Okay? You should never forget this guy.
Wow.
May Howard Jackson, a sister, a light-skinned sister, okay, graduated from Philadelphia Art School of Design. She did this. I love this piece here. I call it the slave board. Look at the warmth of this bronze. You'll see that in the first gallery. Henry Tanner, he left America, went to Paris, and didn't come back. You understand? You know, the good thing about going overseas, if you learn the language, you're pretty good.
Yes.
Now, I ain't saying the Europeans aren't racist, but who cares? You know what I mean? As long as their laws ain't trying to lock me up all the time. You know what I mean? I can handle it. You know? You know, I mean, let's be real, okay?
About 15 minutes.
All right. This is Shirley and Bernard in 1860. I love this couple. You know what? But let me tell you, look at the gold. I mean, come on. They're doing all right. And they said, you know what? Come on, baby, we're going to get this shot. Huh? That's what this is about. And what makes this so important for us is that we end up being able to be caretakers of it. Okay? And you can share in that. Okay? Microphone. Excuse me. All right. Now, this is good. In 1867, 67% of black people in the South were able to vote. By 1930, only 3%. What do they call that? Voter suppression. Or slave codes. Okay? They had a law, check this out. So they called it grandfather law. They said, well, this is Williams versus Mississippi. We do a whole thing on the Supreme Court decision. Okay. That's another. Okay, so they say you could vote if your grandfather voted. In 1867, what black folk had grandparents that voted? So they just knocked that out. And they had all these arcane laws that ensured that we didn't vote. Okay? But this vote, and this is one of the most important things I'm saying, this vote gave us this. Because we voted in 1867, we got the first black senator, Hiram Rebel Rose. We got 6 congressmen from the South. And over the next